Your existing Unidock 16 or 24 bay charger into Datation's Unilock riser with the electronic components and the RF reader, USB RF reader. The only tools you'll need in this case is a Phillips head, probably a number 2 screwdriver. And the first thing you'll start with is removing the tray from the Unilock. And on the underside of the tray you'll notice that there's an electronic lock and a pigtail that will essentially get plugged into the USB controller once the tray goes back into its position. On the Unidock, disconnect and unplug all of your devices, of course. Turn it upside down. You don't need to remove any screws on the top. So carefully place it on a flat surface and remove the screws from the 4 feet. You're going to discard those screws and you'll replace them with this longer screw through the top or through the tray into the base. If you got the RFID reader from Datamation, it would have come equipped with double-sided VHB tape so that you can attach that to the front of the Unidock. But the wiring should be channeled between the base plate and the bottom of the Unidock, and that's what these little grommets or little wire holders are provided for. If your base plate has the holes like this one does, these larger holes here, then you can essentially channel that USB cable into the hole, into the dock, and then back out to the back and connect it to the USB port on the back of the Unidock. So we'll go through that process. I will be using the base plate that has the holes on it, and I'll see you in a minute. Here we've channeled the RFID. We haven't stuck it on in places yet, but we've channeled the cable inside of the Unidock by removing the bottom plate. When you remove the 4 screws, it frees up the bottom plate to come apart. So you channel it in, tie the excess cable up on the inside, and then route the USB-A end out the back of it. And you can go ahead and connect it into either of the 2 ports. If you only have 1 port, then connect it to the USB-A port back there. I am going to be putting the tray on top of it and attaching these 4 screws. I'll be back. That I've completely secured the Unidock to the tray of the Unilock, I went ahead and removed the double-sided tape and put the RFID in position. And on the back, I've connected the USB cable, and I've also taken that pigtail and I've stuck it into just to hold where I have that tool. I removed the tool and placed the pigtail cable in there so that when I insert the tray into the Unilock, I don't pinch those cables. So it's just a precaution to get those cables out of the way while you put the tray in. Putting the tray into the riser, be sure to have the ball bearings all pulled to the front, and the cables in there should be out of the way. So we will go ahead and insert that. Important that when you're putting the trays in, you make sure the glide rail catches on directly onto the rails and not offset in any way. It is somewhat heavy and it's difficult to see it while you're putting it on, so please refer to the paper instructions that accompanies this guide. Here we have the Mac Mini installed and all of the cables connected. Let's review the connection. The Southco module is connected to the Mac Mini via USB, and the excess cable is tucked away. The Unidock is connected to the Mac Mini, and the USB cable is channeled along the power cord, under the power strip, between the adapter and the Mac Mini, again to keep it away from the glide rails. The RFID reader is connected to the Unidock, and once the Unidock is powered on with a host computer powered on, the RFID will receive its power and functionality as if it were connected directly to the Mac Mini. The Mac Mini is sitting within the guides that we provided, the PEM on this side, and the back plate of the lock. And all excess cable is tucked in this little space and that gap so that the Mac Mini sits flat and so that all cables are away from the glide rails. It's important to keep about the 1/2 inch on both sides of the glide rail so that when the tray goes back and forth, there is no interference. The only dangling cable is that electronic lock control cable, and that cable is connected to port number 13 on the Southco USB module for ground control. If you're using another third-party software, you have ports number 1, 2, 13, and 14 available for use on the Southco control module. So again, connected to port number 13 for ground control, and that can be customized because it's software driven. However, the application is written for number 13 to control the electronic lock upon a badge tap.